Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Just a few minutes late. No big deal. No big deal. You know, here at No Sugar, No Cream podcast, nothing ever goes wrong. Yeah, we're just 11 minutes late. It's all good though. And as you can see, we got a little bit of a different view here for those who are seeing us live and in person. But yeah, had a little bit of a hiccup. But we are live, and yeah. Oh yeah. Will that work? Unless you just go above it. We're trying to still go. Okay, yeah. I guess you can just go next to it. Still trying to go live on TikTok. But guys, it's Tuesday, the 25th, I believe. 25th, and another nice, definitely a warmer day today here in Nashville, and loving that. It's been pretty chilly for the most part. Been in the 20s, mostly 20s and 30s. But yeah, Tim should be coming join me in here just a minute here. But yeah, we just had some little hiccups here and there. Looking forward to yeah, since NFL's over, I'm just kind of waiting for UFL to start up. That doesn't start up till the end of March, so I'm kind of patiently waiting on that. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I do like still, if I can enjoy some football when I usually don't get some, that's always nice. And they have all the games are playing like on Fox and ABC and all that, so that'll be cool. It'll be interesting to see. Welcome, Tim.
Glad to be here.
All right, so we got a little bit of an angle. Usually we got the camera on both of us, but as you can see, for the first time in your view, you get our No Sugar, No Cream podcast graphic, or what do you call these?
Well, neon
sign. Yep, we are extra flashy. So so as you can see on No Sugar, No Cream podcast, maybe one of the issues, maybe that's why we're having so many issues today. Neither of us have coffee. Tim is drinking Coke Zero, and I am drinking a Monster Energy drink. So maybe that's an issue. Maybe we should be drinking coffee. But oh well. Guys, you have to let us know what you think of us being in the same shot like this. I kind of was like, we were having issues with the link and all that. So I was like, well, let's just try doing the same. We kind of just readjusted where we are on the table, and kind of
the link was not working at all.
Yeah,
for your side. So we had to combine, and we may actually like this better.
Yeah, we'll see what we think. We're always kind of bummed. Tim got this nice No Sugar, No Cream. I don't know if you guys can read it very well, but you can definitely see it's a mic there in the middle and everything. It looks really,
it says
cool.
No Sugar, No Cream podcast, Seth and Tim.
But so this is a little bit different.
I spent a small fortune for that.
But this
really.
is not too much of adjustment as far as like just moving back behind the table. Like, I mean, I've seen a lot of podcasts. That's why I quickly recommended this.
Yeah, you're smart.
A lot of podcasts do it like this.
Yeah.
I was just watching Dropouts today, and bunch of young kids doing a really good goofy podcast out of LA, and they do one shot. And I think also they do have, all these bigger podcasts have multiple cameras, and I think they do still have also another camera for them individually. But Bob can handle. Bob's getting a little old.
Bob's going to handle that.
Bob's Bob can only handle so much, so we're working up to that. We gotta get our viewer guys up. If you're on Facebook, please share the podcast on your page. That'd be awesome, and like it, and help us get our viewers up. We're on our way up to 1,000 viewers. We're about halfway there total. I think we calculated all out.
Yeah,
across
we're
all
at
the
least
platforms.
500. Thank you so much.
500. So that's pretty awesome. But yeah, Tim, that was a little frustrating. Are you doing okay? Of course, if things went perfectly, it wouldn't be a No Sugar No Cream podcast.
Yeah, it does bother me.
So that's the first time that's happened. Like,
and I was on the customer support. Shout out to Restream. They got a customer support, and I got a guy, not an AI bot, and a guy. Well, maybe it's an AI bot named Kevin, but Kevin was on the line with me answering and asked me to send the links, and they weren't working. And he said that's really weird. He hadn't seen that.
I don't
before.
think a bot would say that's weird. I'm pretty sure you got a human.
Kevin says that was weird. He said I've never seen that before, and then he had a workaround, but we decided to do this instead.
Yeah,
that workaround was a little more complex.
We're already 2 minutes late.
And meanwhile, he's putting a technical ticket in. That's what this is. They put a technical ticket in. Yeah, clean up the table there, nephew.
For Pete's sake.
So
clean the table, Seth. It's out of control. I think this is the third voice I've created for this character. He's got a list now. I'm not the same guy. I'm just in the same outfit. But yeah. Got a Celtics game tonight. We'll just dab our feet into sports a little bit,
because we'll save that for our sports podcast.
Yes, yeah. Hey, you guys still need to tell us what you think, man. Should we do a podcast? Well, that's down the road. I mean, of course, as we continue to grow, maybe we do. We do like to talk about sports, but as we grow, man, 500 on the way to 1,000 viewers. Once we hit that 1,000, that would be pretty exciting. But we do. Most of our viewers are on Facebook, so we really appreciate you guys. Some of you watching us live, which is cool. And it sounds good. You checking it out? Good.
Okay. Good. Both mics are working. Whoops. Oh, sorry.
That's what's going to happen when you unplug the headphones.
Yeah, duh. Why did you unplug the duh?
So, guys, thanks for watching on Facebook. And like I said, please feel free to share the podcast. Just, push a little share button there. That would be awesome.
Well, I have a confession up that I have to make.
Oh, confessions. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is Confessions.
Embarrassment. Complete embarrassment.
Oh, complete embarrassment. Oh, this is getting better. I can't wait.
Some of you watch my live streams. I know Randy is one who does. Randy from Springfield, Missouri. I think I had scheduled a Tim Wolf live stream for Saturday. And I completely spaced it.
You completely forgot about it.
Completely forgot about it until Sunday afternoon. Oh my gosh. I've done that before. Because I normally do them on Friday.
You usually keep up with that stuff pretty good.
Well, I normally do them on Friday, and I get in a routine, and I couldn't do it Friday. I had a commitment, so I rescheduled to Saturday. And I didn't. What I need to do is start putting a little, out of my normal routine. Doggone it. So any of you who are on any of the channels waiting for me to come on, I didn't realize it till the next day.
I'm checking TMZ right now to make sure you weren't canceled.
So anyway, my apologies to you.
Ooh.
And I will apologize the next time I have a live stream on Friday. An actual live stream.
This is surprising. I didn't know you had such reach, but yeah, TMZ is canceling you. Tim Wolf did not go live Saturday. Ooh. Goodness, man, you're official.
You want to talk about what we have on here, our paraphernalia on here?
Oh, sure. I think we probably have before, but I mean, we definitely they haven't seen this one.
Have we? I don't think we have. Have we? So this here, this is a model of an Ellis Chalmers tractor. You can see it now. It's a WD-45. Yeah. This was the first tractor I was driving, not this specific one, but a full-size one.
I don't think you'd fit on it, Tim. Yeah.
It'd be even when I was 5, I don't think I'd fit on there. And I was driving that tractor before that model of tractor before I started first grade. The reason I know that is because we went to a little country school, and the parents of the kids in the neighborhood had to take turns because there was no bus. And so Dad, who was
the neighbors just picked up kids for
took turns. 1 week.
Was the one room.
This is the one room schoolhouse. Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
It's on the cover of my album. What it looks like today. I can go get that in just a second.
Yeah, it's pretty. Tim definitely. We've talked about different stories about some funny stories with his dad and stuff. But it is interesting. Like, even even as young as Tim is, being only 43, he did go to a one-room schoolhouse.
Yeah, South Dakota. Here, I don't know if you can see it. I'll probably zoom in it on after the fact. But this is what it looks like today. It's abandoned and
It's still there though.
Still there. Still there.
Oh, such a good picture. You took that picture too, right?
No,
a
local farmer did.
You asked him to.
I just asked, could somebody take a
that's
picture?
How small the community is.
Yeah. I said, can anybody? Yes, exactly. They went down there and took a picture. Now, we eliminated some things. There was a fence right here, and that got photoshopped out, and then there was a Highline wire going here.
Oh yeah. Why'd you take the fence out?
Right here.
Well, the fence didn't look good.
It just looks better this way. We just made some editorial decisions, So if this view, there would be a fence right here, but we wanted to make it look like it was on the prairie, and it is on the prairie. I mean, everything else is the same. This color is accurate, bright yellow, but there was just a Highline wire running through here.
Tim, did you fabricate part of your childhood?
AI generated, yeah. So I remember, or my aunt told me this. So I didn't remember it, but she told me years later. She said that I told my dad when he was complaining that he was going to have to stop work to go pick us up because they'd come pick us up after school, like at 3:30 in the afternoon, 4:00. And my dad didn't. He was a workaholic, and he did not want to interrupt his work.
Probably about to pull you out of school, huh?
And my aunt, yeah, that's another subject. So my aunt told me that at that time that I told my dad, you don't have to come pick me up. I'll drive the tractor to school. And this model of tractor would have been the one that I would have driven.
And he could have.
I could have. It would have taken a long time because it was like, it would probably have taken an hour, maybe. No, not quite that long. 40 minutes, maybe, because it was about 4 miles away. Well, no, these things would go about 12 to 14 miles an hour. So, maybe a half hour I could get there on the tractor.
That's hilarious.
One way.
That's hilarious. Oh man.
And didn't have running water. We had outhouses, so I'm just imagining my little first grade little naked butt on the freezing outhouse when I had to go do my business out there.
And that was up to middle school, right?
Up to fifth grade.
Fifth grade.
And then they shut all those down.
And it was one teacher, right?
One teacher
there?
Well, they had two of them side by side. This was the 1 through 1. This was the 1 through 4. There's another one right here, and it's still there. There's another building similar to this, not quite exactly, but similar, and it's parked. It's right here. You just out of a picture. Two of them side by side. Neither of them had running water. They had heat, of course, and electricity. So we had a refrigerator. We had milk for breaks and things, but that's the only. Everybody had to bring their own lunch. And we used the outhouse. There's a boys' outhouse and a girls' outhouse, and so 2 holers.
Wow. So you went there through fifth grade.
Through fifth grade.
Through fifth grade.
And so then in the fifth grade, I graduated I went to the bigger, because it was 1 through 4, 5 through 8.
And then my mom was 1 grade ahead of you?
She was 4 grades ahead.
Wow. How am I so off? Y'all are that different in age?
Yeah. She's 4 grades ahead.
Why did I think y'all? Oh, it's my parents. My parents are 1 year apart. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So
my parents are one year apart.
So it was a big deal when I got to 5th grade, because I moved up to the big school, which is right next door, but to the big school, and that was one teacher handling those. And so my first grade, there were 3 of us in the class. No. 3 of us in the class. Yeah. No, 2 of us in the class. 2 or 3. And one of them was a missionary's daughter. And the other one was the pastor. And the missionary went back to Panama. She was from Panama. They went back to Panama. And then I don't remember what happened to the pastor. Did they move? I think they left. They went to another pastor, another church. So I was all by myself in grades 2, 3, and 4. And then, I was the only one in my class. So I was best in class.
There was other people in the room.
There were other grades, because there were 4 grades. There was 1, 2, 3, and 4, but I was the only one in my grade. But there are others. I was the only one that only had 1 grade.
I'm guessing a lot of y'all kind of learn together? Like even you were helped by some of the older ones when you were even little?
Kind of like that. There was probably
That's
more
cool.
than a dozen of us students in the room at any time, maybe less. And then for 5th grade, I would have been alone, but the guy ahead of me got flunked. So I had a companion in my class. You got to be pretty bad to flunk when there's only.
Of course, was he missing a lot of school though for help on the farm or something?
Well, that too. No, he wasn't.
You probably missed some days, huh? Or
could you imagine you're in a one-room schoolhouse, you get all that one-to-one attention, you still flunk. Anyway,
sounds like something I would do.
Anyway, so tractor, and here. You gave this to me actually. What
called? They're pop figures.
Pop
made
figures
by Funko.
Same as that one. Same
also
brand.
Funko.
And
brand.
This, of course, I'm a rabid Celtics fan. And this is Larry Bird. And Larry Bird is amazing Celtic player. One of the best is Pops of Larry Bird.
Yes,
this is the
sirree.
model of a 1969 yellow Camaro. And I had a 1969 yellow Camaro when I was in college. I completely rebuilt it. It had a 350 engine in it and automatic transmission, and I tore that out. And I can't believe, because I wouldn't know where to start. I mean, that was a different era when I was involved with mechanics and stuff. And I had a 327 that I tore down all the way to the crankshaft and had everything polished and new bearings and high lift cam, so that when you pulled up at the stoplight, that whole thing, and wide wheels in the back and 4 in the floor. And I put all that in and took that to college and had it until about 2 years after college. And then I sold it for $450. Man, I wish I had that car today.
That'd be crazy if you just
stored it. It was yellow. It was very similar to this. I mean, no stripes. It was not RS, so it didn't have the stripes. It was just no black top. Just that's the only. I do have a Camaro still, 69 Camaro, but it's just this one. And then this is something I got when I was in Mexico. This is Lucille, although it's not accurate because B.B. King, and this says on it B.B. King. Gibson ES335, but it's inaccurate. B.B. King's didn't have the F-holes. He wanted it without the F-holes. But I'm now getting ready to record a cover of B.B. and I'm going to use this guitar to play. No, not this specific one, but my ES335 to play The Thrill Is Gone, which is probably his biggest song. And I'm getting ready to record that. I'm probably going to finish recording the rest of it this week and send it off to my producer. So
cool beans.
So that's my little what would you call it? Personality.
Yeah, a little
in my area.
A little cool. Yeah, I meant to grab some more today, but because I got more pop figures, but I still got my 2, The Matrix, Neo, which is my favorite movie of all time. And then, of course, can't go wrong with the Squid Games. Still, I haven't been able to get into the second season. You watched all of the second season, which was I just haven't been able to get into. But I
don't recall that I watched all of it. Yeah,
you said you watched all of it.
Did I?
The second season? Yeah.
It wasn't nearly as good as the first one.
You said it wasn't as good as the first one. But we just finished a really good Netflix series.
Incredible.
Zero Day?
Day Zero? Zero Day?
Zero Day, I believe. Yeah.
It was
with
Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro.
Great show.
Oh
Great
my
show.
Gosh, so good. It was just 6 episodes, which I mean, Tim, I probably said on the podcast, but Tim doesn't like series very much, which I kind of starting to really agree with that.
There's a reason.
You want to close. So if I do find, I really do like watching series. So in fact, I do this funny thing too. I've done it with video games where like I will stop watching when there's a couple episodes left because I don't want it to end. That's something Tim would never do. Tim would skip ahead. I would literally stop watching because I don't want it to end.
Well, I want to say that there's something called the hero's journey, which all movies, and actually it was coined, man, I wish I knew, but all great movies and shows, even books, novels, follow this path. And I wish there's certain aspects to it. You're introduced to the protagonist of whatever the story is, and then they're usually moved to another location. Let's talk Star Wars, the first Star Wars, which is actually they call it number 4, but it's the first one that came out. So Luke Skywalker is bored at his home, and then suddenly he goes to another location. You're more of a Star Wars fan than me. What
Star Wars fan.
What did he was at home, and then they asked him to go somewhere else. He moved location. Where did he go? I don't remember actually. Didn't they come along and sweep him away with their hovercrafts in the
yeah, because he will oh my gosh, I can't remember all the storyline from way back, but yeah, he ended up he was there he was kind of bummed being there just on the
just bored. Yeah, it was all
then,
nothing to do, and then he got caught up.
Yeah,
and,
he ended up being
and
trained.
Moved. So typically, you take away, you go to another location, and then there's 6 to 8 actual things that happen in the hero's journey, and I should look that up. Actually, let me look that up. Fill time, Seth, while I look up the hero's journey.
Yeah, I was just going to mention a couple things about this series. We really could, if you guys want to check it out. IMDb is really a cool. I mean, like I'm big into like, you have the 5 stars. I'm sorry, 7 stars. That's going to be your that's just normal people giving a rating. And man, so the IMDb rating is only a 7 for a 0 day. But I don't know. I give it a good 8. I give it a good 8.2, something like that. I really enjoy it. In fact, I'll rate it right now. I'm gonna give it a 9. So you have Robert De Niro, which plays the ex-president, and you end up seeing this I can't even say it. This I'm trying to say catastrophe. This crazy catastrophe happens, kills 3,000 some people because of technology, because of somebody doing a hack that messes with grids and stuff, and it causes a lot of trains to wreck and stuff by switching rails and all that. But he gets involved in trying to figure out what happened, and but also in it is Jesse Plemons. Who if anybody knows, if he's from plays a smaller character like in Friday Night Lights, and has been in a bunch of movies since then, and is amazing. In fact, he was a lot bigger, and man, he looked amazing.
He did. He looked like he never was a leading man appearance, but now he's handsome. He's got the chisel features, and he can do leading man stuff now.
There's a HBO Max show that he's on. This series, I think, is like a miniseries too, and man, he's so much bigger in that, and just like it's kind of crazy because he like really carries a lot of weight in his face when he's bigger, and man, once he slimmed down, he looks really good. But yeah, he's in goes back to I just enjoyed his character. He didn't have a super big character, but he was one of the players on the football team in Friday Night Lights, the series. But yeah, so you get this. The series is just it's just 6 episodes, and you go through that full thing that kind of Tim talks about, the whole arc, what do you call it, the hero's journey. Did you find something on that?
I did, and in fact, Wikipedia, just hero's journey Wikipedia. It's really interesting. In the Wikipedia, they give the example of Star Wars.
Okay,
that's say, so here are the steps in it. Let's see if I can pull it up here. So call to adventure, and then it says supernatural aid, threshold. There's 11 steps. So I've seen it condensed to smaller steps. One, I heard a presentation on it, and it was like rather than make it more, like supernatural aid, just say the hero goes to another location. And that works also because it worked in Luke Skywalker's case. So supernatural aid, threshold guardians. Threshold is beginning of the transformation. And there's helpers along the way and mentors along the way.
Supernatural aid would probably just be the Force.
Right. There you go. Yeah. Challenges and temptations. And there's helpers and mentors along the way. And then a revelation. And there's an abyss of a death and
Luke,
a reborn,
I am your
a death of a
father.
dream, or death of a part of a person, transformation, atonement for the things they did wrong, and return to where they came from, and they're a new person. That is the hero's journey, and you can see it played out in so many stories. I've seen other ways. The terminology is different, but let's go down to here where it talks about. So if you, let's see, get down to it. Popular culture. They call it it's monomyth concept. Has been popular in American literary studies and writing guides since at least the 1970s. Christopher. Well, sorry about that.
I think you have a phone call coming.
Yeah.
Is yours still okay? It's not going to affect
We're
that.
still on, I guess. I should have.
Is it going to mess up being on TikTok?
Don't think so, because the phone doesn't come there.
Oh, okay.
So, sorry about that, folks. That was my buddy Jimmy calling me. George Lucas's 1977 Star Wars was classified as a monomyth, hero's journey, as soon as it came out. In addition to the extensive discussion between Campbell and Bill Moyers broadcast in 1988, is The Power of Myth. Lucas gave an extensive interview in which he states that after completing American Graffiti, so if you're a George Lucas fan and you know the movie American Graffiti, about growing up in the 50s with car culture and drag racing on the street, American Graffiti, great film. George Lucas did that. He said that came to me, this is a quote from George Lucas, it came to me that there was really no modern use of mythology, so that's when I started doing more strenuous research on fairy tales, folklore, and mythology, and I started reading Joe's books. It became very, because in reading The Hero with a Thousand Faces, which is a book, I began to realize that my first draft of Star Wars was following classical motifs. And so he even met the writer of this book, and and that's mysticism, but the hero's journey doesn't have to be mystic. I've heard it presented more as even what's the show, the cartoon show where the cars are play parts.
The Cars Come Alive?
Yeah.
It's Cars. It's
Cars, Cars. Cars is an example I heard. Well, it was given. You know, the cars, they have to go somewhere, right? Who's the hero? The hero of Cars. The character who plays that.
First, the character I think of is Mater, but the main character is Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson plays the character, but I can't think of the
Cars
name.
movie. Let's go. Cars movie. Hero's journey.
But of course, people take all kinds of. The writer will take all kind of.
Oh, here we go. The hero's journey for Cars movie. And there's no mysticism there. You know, there's no force. So here it is.
The Cars Coming Alive.
So first stage, ordinary world. Lightning McQueen is a famous but cocky race car driver that has no time for friends or having fun. He doesn't have to worry about anything besides trying to win the Piston Cup. Second one, call to adventure. Lightning McQueen's adventure starts when he falls out of his trailer while on his way to the Piston Cup.
Ka-chow. Ka-chow.
He gets lost from the highway and ends up in Radiator Springs, a small town. Route 66.
I'm Tom Mater.
The next one. I can get this to work here.
I'm really glad about my decision I made. You being my best friend.
Is that from the movie?
Something like that. I think I hacked it. I hacked the crap out of it. But it says something about being my best friend. Yeah.
There we go. Refusing the calling. That's part of it too. Refusing the call. Whoops. I got to go back here. This is not going. Call to adventure, and then you refuse the call, typically, at first. And then you cross your threshold. Lightning McQueen is taken to court in town because he destroyed the road. He's forced to complete the road to be able to leave so he can be on time for the big race. Meeting the mentor. In Radiator Springs, he finds out that Doc Hudson was actually a champion race car, a Hudson Hornet. Tests. He has to nicely pave the road that he damaged. He's tested by Doc. And he finds allies here. the helpers, which we
Tow
talked.
Mater.
And he also has enemies. His inner self, Chick Hicks, and the King. Then approach. He fails to beat Doc in a race due to a sharp turn. The ordeal. He goes on a drive with Sally. McQueen is taught about the history of the town. His ordeal is firmly devoted to finish the road properly. Then the reward. He has won everyone's mind over except Doc's. He's made everyone happy by fixing the road back. Swarms of reporters flood the town with cameras. They have found him. And then the resurrection. He uses all his knowledge to get in the lead. And he has merged from his selfish self and become humble. And he returns with Elixir as they finish the raid. He comes up to McQueen to offer him the sponsorship. And so he's at a new level, and he's learned. And so that's another application of the hero's journey. Basically, it's to make a great story, you have this pattern is followed with some modifications in every great story, or most every great story. Now, like you were talking, we were watching Full Metal Jacket. It didn't really have a plot. Nobody learned anything. If nobody learns anything, it's not a great, unless it's another kind of a show. And Full Metal Jacket by Stanley Kubrick, I believe it was intentionally. Kubrick was an amazing filmmaker. I believe it was intentional because it's about the Vietnam War. And there was just chaos in Vietnam. People have been there, and they say that there was no clear objective, and the generals were not given. They were like going there handicapped. They weren't allowed to really use the full force. I mean, it's a controversial subject, but everybody was over. Based on what I've read and the movies that have portrayed it, it was chaos without any clear. Where was the front even? You're not advancing. Like World War I or World War II, there was a front, and you're either advancing or retreating. In Vietnam, it was just all around, and it was chaos. And I think that was one reason why that movie was like that. And when we got done watching, you said that has no plot. There's no hero's journey. Nobody learns anything. Did anybody learn anything? Not really. Nobody changed. Nobody got better.
No.
So the hero's journey, and the reason I'm going into all that is that I want to see a movie with the arc of the hero's journey and have it come to fruition in like an hour and a half to 2 hours. That's a good movie. And TV shows, series, they don't have that
for years.
They don't. They go on for years, and there's no finality.
Now there's those exceptions.
There are exceptions, yes,
where you have a storyline that's always going along throughout the years.
Breaking Bad is one. That took 5 or 6 seasons although he didn't redeem himself, he went the other way. Breaking Bad is about the Walter who became from a very mild-mannered, nice chemistry teacher to an evil
right. But there's no
drug
closure
lord.
At the end of every episode. I'm talking about a show like CSI where
closure. Okay.
Like at the end of every episode.
Okay, there's a mini hero's journey in every episode. Yeah.
There's like a mini. You can watch every CSI for the most part as a standalone. Like there's a murder, and then they solve the murder. Then on top of that, there's all the characters are being developed throughout the years. But you can just go in and watch kind of like a sitcom in a way. You can just sit down and watch any sitcom individually, and there's some little problem that happens,
like Seinfeld.
Yeah.
The one thing they said about Seinfeld, although how many 11 seasons, none of them changed, none of them learned anything, none of them improved. None of them that was part of the whole thing. In fact, they said when in the writer's room they had on the walls, nobody can learn anything, nobody can improve. That was part of their shtick, that everybody was always the same. And I still watch reruns because you know exactly who they are. And so, that's not a hero's journey kind of show. That's just an entertainment comedy. And that's good too.
Yeah.
But I want to see with a good drama, I want to see a hero's journey. And it's hard to have that in a series is the bottom line. That's why I like movies.
Yep. So always, yeah. So if I want to watch something with Tim, I'm like, all right, is it a mini series? That works. That works. And then I just destroy Tim's day by getting him hooked on a show that like we can't stop watching.
Like we watched, we watched 0 Day or 0 Hour or 0 Day. I think it was 0 Day.
It's
yeah.
0 Day. Yeah.
We watched that, and I
definitely highly recommend it. So Netflix.
Phenomenal. Of course, I love De Niro. Been a follower of his for many years.
Yeah, I got you hooked right away when it's De Niro.
Yeah,
he didn't do that face at all.
So great show. And I was surprised. I got to say that Netflix is usually pretty mid writing. They're putting out a lot of content, and in fact, I've read articles that their objective is not to do great content. They want to Netflix, for the most part, wants to put out stuff that can be on, and you can be doing other stuff while it's going on. And they literally purposely put out background shows, not versus, and most of their shows are very mid and boring to me. They don't grab you. You can predict what's going to come. How many times have we been watching a show and I said, I think this is going to happen, and a good percentage of the time it does happen. If you can predict what's going to happen, that's not a great show.
I don't know. I feel like with their originals, they do pretty good with those. But as far as like when they buy, I mean, you can only buy a certain kind of quality when you buy a bunch of movies like that are going to just end up on your those. I mean, there's a lot of B movies mixed in there. When it has the N on it, they're originals. Those unless they're not in English, which a lot of times I don't like the subtitles, which that's getting even better. They're even able to change their lips all nowadays,
right. They use AI to make their lips say the phrases in English.
I think that's something that's about to start happening. I don't think they're doing that yet per se, but that's right around the corner there. But as far as like, I mean, you got so many shows that have just knocked out of the park. That I mean, Netflix have won tons of awards. That's why, and that's all their originals. I mean, but then you got certain shows that they just buy, and there's so many. That's why there's so. That's I think why Netflix gets like such a.
I don't know, based on articles that I've read, even stuff they're developing, they're aiming for the mid. Based on articles that I've read.
But how can you say that when you have stuff like Squid Games? I mean, that's Netflix original. You got some of the biggest award-winning shows are. I mean, then you got which a lot
let's
of
talk
sci-fi.
Squid Games. Let's talk, that Netflix did not develop that. They took that. That was in Korean.
Yeah, but
so it was developed in Korea, not for Squid. Netflix grabbed it after it was a big hit.
No, it aired. It only has ever aired on Netflix. That didn't air anywhere else. They ended up buying it, but I don't know why. But it only aired on Netflix.
Let's research.
They owned the 100% on the rights to Squid Games.
Or you could ask Mr. Squid Games there.
Yes, Squid Games is owned by Netflix. But yeah,
his voice changed like the fifth time now.
I mean, but yeah, they'll give like somebody money to make something, and then there's lots of shows they buy. They just buy, and then that does happen where they'll just put the Netflix once they bought it.
You are correct, sir. Here's the first line in Wikipedia. Squid Games is a South Korean dystopian survival thriller action television series created, written, and directed by Hwang Dong-hyuk for Netflix. I stand corrected.
No, you're sitting. You're quite comfortable.
I sit corrected.
I sit corrected, sir. But yeah, I mean, there is. I mean, but yeah, they have put out so much stuff, but then also that there's a lot of B stuff that lower budget, which some of those can be good. I mean, man, I'm all about a storyline, but then sometimes you get a good storyline, and then you get some bad acting. I mean, that's the issue with a lot of B movies. But yeah, when I see the N on there, I'm going to give it a chance. But then I mean that's the thing about yeah, there's just so much out there now. I mean, I'd as far as constantly just kind of hitting out of the park for the most part, man, Apple has hit it. They don't have as much, but they have a lot of good stuff, and a lot of it's more sophisticated kind of stuff. When I think of you, I feel like you'd like a lot of Apple stuff. And then Amazon has hit it out of the park. It's kind of crazy, and it's quite interesting how I I mean, I guess part of the big reason that CBS and ABC and all those, I mean, they are big networks, and you still can get those in remote areas with just an antenna, where like some people, in remote areas still don't have internet, and might even just get some TV through antennas. So you get ABC, you get the basic stuff, but a lot of those are going to apps. I mean, every one of the mainstream channels, or even smaller ones like AMC, they all have apps. They're going that way. It's kind of funny how like we get away from cable, but spending so much on cable, but now you have all the different apps, unless you're sharing a bunch of them, which you can for the most part, but now they're making it harder to share the apps, unless live in the same household.
Well, Seth, I'm on Reddit now.
Tim, you're not supposed to be on Reddit.
And this is a discussion. These are just discussion.
Uh-oh.
And the topic is Netflix new film strategy, why streaming giant is betting on quality over quantity. And one guy says
they're bidding on quality.
Why? Quality over quantity. That was the headline. But one guy says why? Because they already tried quantity. And then another person said, and they can't spend the kind of money to do quantity anymore.
Which that made sense because there's just so much stuff.
Probably, and this is 1 year ago post. Probably, how long will it take before this strategy starts? And it says probably a few years, takes a while to film stuff. I wouldn't start judging until maybe 2025. Most of next year's stuff was done already before they decided to fix this problem. And here's a guy, VHS 1138 says, 1 year ago says, whenever I see...
VHS? What's a VHS?
That's his username.
I'm just kidding.
Whenever I see that little red N in the top corner, I know I'm about to watch the most half-baked, corny BS they have to offer. So his view is diametrically opposed from yours, Seth.
Yeah, but I think the exact opposite. That for the most part, when there's an N in the corner, I've enjoyed it. For the most part.
Now this is 1 year ago. See, this is a change. You've seen the change in a year. These posts are from a year ago. And maybe these wouldn't be written today. I said they have changed. I say they have changed in a year. And the next post underneath says, exactly. I've been saying for a while now, Netflix basically turned themselves into a sci-fi channel where if you see their logo, you know the movie will suck. And that was where they were 1 year ago when this was written. And I really believe they've turned that around.
Did they give me an example of movies that they think that sucked or anything? But yeah, that's the big difference. Which you don't like sci-fi, so that's the a lot of their stuff is like is sci-fi. But yeah, let's interesting to see where I like being able to use different platforms. It's kind of nice. And then if you don't want to spend too much money, what you just pick up one for a month and watch the shows that you want to watch, binge some shows, and then drop it after a month.
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
Apple Plus.
Yeah, and your brother does that, right? You see something, you and your brother will do it. But see, the problem is I'll forget to cancel it.
Yeah, which is with Apple, it's pretty easy to just as long as every once in a while they'll move around it. They haven't moved it in a while, but as long as you know where your subscriptions are, you can get to it pretty easily. But I'll probably miss it every once in a while. But what's cool is too, I mean, we get when you get a few different ones like Hulu. Hulu is with Disney Plus, and then now Max. So I got the three of those. It used to be with I had it with ESPN, which I wasn't using ESPN as much, but I still like to watch UFC. So they'll have that on the weekends, and I've been missing some of those. But I'll probably pick that up once there's a big UFC that's just on ESPN Plus that I want to watch, and to order if there's a fight you want to order, you have to have ESPN Plus. So that's one way they get you, but they'll have usually a lot of times they'll have a big discount. But yeah, I mean that's kind of the way of the future. Will be interesting to see if Disney owns a good portion of Hulu, most of it now I think, and then I don't know. Then they have some kind of relationship where they're bundling with Max, which that's not owned at all by Disney that I know of. That's HBO, whoever owns that. But so if they can do some kind of partnership, and once somebody's able to figure it out and bundle like 5 of them together or something for like $25, I mean, you're kind of like that's the way to do it, you know, and you could really rack it up.
Well, the way industry goes, everything's fragmented now.
Which would be
But
cable.
consolidation is what typically happens. I mean, let's take an example of the car industry. When the car was first invented, the horseless carriage, as they called it then, you know, around 1900, 1905, there were ways of getting around without a horse. And in the 20s, 30s, 40s, there was so many car companies, many. And maybe 40s, 50s. And then, of course, probably after World War II, consolidation started to happen. And like General Motors bought up a whole bunch of them, all the brands like Chrysler. Well, no, that's Chrysler is not General Motors, but Pontiac and Studebaker was AMC. And what other brands? There were...
was there more?
Chevrolet. They were all separate. They were all separate. And then they got bought up and they kept their brands. Like Oldsmobile and a lot of people don't realize, like Pontiac. They were all separate brands.
A lot of people don't even realize that, like Range Rover, which is really popular, like in Hollywood stuff, that's owned by Ford.
Now, yeah. So all those brands there were many brands, and Studebaker. My aunt had a Studebaker. Haven't heard that name in a while. Just tractors, no. Same thing. Tractors. There were many brands of tractors. My dad was a farmer, and he would like to go, and I would go with him to classic tractor shows. This company, Allis-Chalmers, got bought up and combined, and so it happens. Things get combined, and if that holds true, we'll probably see consolidation. Right now, I don't know how many channels you have, but my roommate, he said he had them all. Howard, and he said it cost him $250 a month to have every single possible streaming channel, which I don't want to spend that much time. I mean, I want to cut down on my TV watching, to be honest. I want to write music. I want to play music. I want to practice. So I try to minimize my TV watching. But I mean, if you're paying $250 a month, you better be just watching TV all the time. So at some point, is that going to get consolidated and there'll be less and less offers? Normally what happens is it gets down to three big players. Any big industry, there's three big players. And, let's take broadcasting. Before this breakup, it was CBS, NBC, and ABC. And then Fox came along and it was the fourth one, but 3 to 4. There are usually three big players. How many record companies, big record labels are there? There are 3. There's Sony, there's Warner, and who's the other one? Universal, the biggest one. I forgot. 3 record companies, big music companies. 3. So 3 is a typical number. So will we see that where companies buy other? Now maybe they'll still keep it separate. And like you said, Disney owns Hulu. You still have to pay a separate Disney Plus versus Hulu, right? Even though Disney owns both of them.
No, I pay for one membership for Hulu, Disney Plus, and then HBO Max, which now is just Max. So they're already bundled.
They're already bundled. Okay, so the bundling. What happens in most industries over time? There are 3 players. And let's talk about operating systems for computers. We got Apple, we got Android. And, although Microsoft, that is not 3. I mean, you could 3 basic. I mean, you can divide it. You can divide it. You got Windows, and then you got Android. That's Android is owned by Google. So, you can get a Google. I believe you can get a Google computer. I don't know if it's Android. Android is a phone, but you can get a Google computer. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, the Google computer. Yeah.
So there's 3. You got Apple. You got now there used to be another one who fell out. Phones. There used to be 3. There used to be phone manufacturers. Remember, there was the one. What was the one that was from Finland? That was the leader.
Nokia one.
Nokia. Yeah, Nokia. Whatever happened to Nokia? They're gone. So usually
BlackBerries used to be super big, right? And then
things change over time, but technology changes. But if you look at a lot of industries, if it's a big enough industry, you'll have 3 players.
It's so crazy that Blockbuster had the big chance to buy Netflix. Netflix came to Blockbuster. Will you buy it?
They laughed him out of the conference room. Stupidest business people.
And at that point too, you could see that it was shifting. Things were shifting.
And I have to say, I mean, I'm going to toot my own horn here because I remember. I mean, I'm not in computer science. I'm not in streaming, but it was pretty obvious that I had seen it to go from dial-up, where you go and you literally pick up your phone and then you put the phone on the receiver, and it's very slow and it gets faster and faster. I mean, any fool could see that it's going to get faster over time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember telling my friends, whoever would listen, I said, it's going to come a time when we're going to be able to stream movies. At the time we couldn't. This was in the early aughts. And I remember I used to read business magazines a lot. And I remember the head of Blockbuster was talking, and Netflix was a thing at that time, but it was also sending my mail, right? And Blockbuster I remember reading an article in Business Week or whatever magazine I was subscribing to, and the president of Blockbuster was doubling down on building more video rental places. And I remember thinking, I didn't realize that Netflix had this idea for streaming, but I remember thinking that is so stupid. That is, I remember I was ranting about it. You know how I can rant about things that I never do that, do I?
Nah.
And I was ranting about how stupid Blockbuster was, expanding instead of getting into trying to go for, realizing that eventually I could see. I wasn't even in the business, and I could see that there's going to come a time when you don't go to a store to rent a movie. It was just, if you just look at the trends, you could have figured that out. Anyone could have figured that out. And sure enough, there's one, I don't know if they're still open, but it's kind of like a museum. There's one Blockbuster that is still open somewhere in the Northwest.
Yeah.
But it's more like a museum. It's just not really, people go there.
I mean, people still use it. I guess it's in a spot. I mean, they still have they do all the movies and stuff. And I mean, probably the one big thing there is you can go there and buy yourself a Blockbuster shirt. That is kind of cool to have a Blockbuster shirt.
But as a functioning business, anyone with a sense could have seen what was going to happen.
Yep.
And so,
I always think I runs through my head every once in a while. I had a coach that taught a class, and forget what class it was. It was kind of like a current events class, and he said something really that stuck in my head, and he said it a lot. He said, "Change is the only constant."
Absolutely, 100%.
Change is always happening.
And one more. I mean, I love to. In fact, somebody referred it to me. Dylan at our church, and I got to look it up. He said the battle. There's apparently. The Battle Business or Business Battles. I got to find that as a podcast. I got to start watching that. And they were talking about Fender versus Gibson. He said there's some interesting subjects that they dive into. Another one, Kodak, Eastman Kodak. I had an job offer from Eastman Kodak when I graduated college, and they had they were run with like some pretty intense military precision. If you worked for Kodak, that was a little different than working for some other companies. And they had Kodak Park in Rochester, New York, and it was like this whole acres of like a wall around it, and you couldn't get in there. And that's where they did all their research and stuff. And they invented digital photography, invented it, but they didn't pursue it because they had so much money invested in films. They were the best filmmakers, because I remember I worked for DuPont at the time, and DuPont was a competitor in X-ray film. DuPont has since sold that business, but
because all their money was in the film, right?
Coating. You put what is it? Nitrate, silver nitrate, on at a very thin layer on this film, and that's how you make film on this thin slab of plastic, and that's how you make film. And the technology to do a coater, it was a coating line, they called it, and that technology was the heart of that business. And Kodak had developed a technology. I know this for a fact because I was hired. I was working in a market research for DuPont at the time, and I was hired to find out. They had a plant that wasn't in Kodak. If it was in Kodak Park, I could not have found it. But they had a plant in Colorado, and I was able to go out there, and I spent about a month trying to find a way to figure this out. And I had to misrepresent the truth a little bit as a Christian. I'm still ashamed about that, but I found a foreman of the coating line who had been announced that he had just been promoted. He was third shift, and I called him, and I represented that I was calling from Kodak Park, and I was asking him questions. How many? Because I even went up to DuPont's coating line, X-ray coating line, and learned about the technology.
Turned into a private investigator.
I was a private investigator. Yes, I was a private investigator for the company employed me, and we went up there and we spent an entire day coding, learning about the technology, so that I could ask intelligent questions. And the coating line is the core of it when you're making film that gets exposed and then gets developed. That's what an X-ray is. It's just like taking a photograph, industrial application of it. And I found out they knew roughly what production came out of that plant, and they said they must have 3 coating lines. And I found out that they had 1 coating line, and it was operating at twice the speed that DuPont thought was possible, and it was twice as wide as DuPont thought was possible. Because the wider it is, the more difficult it's going to be for you to keep that precision, right? If you have something that's 10 feet wide and you want to keep that precise to the millimeters, it's going to be hard. Versus if it's only this wide, right?
Right.
So the wider it is, the harder the technology is. But their technology was so more advanced than the company I was working for that it was twice the width and operated at 3 times. I think it was 3 times the speed. Or maybe 3 times the width. It was 3 and 2. One was 3 and one was 2. It's been a long time ago. It was 20-some years ago. Anyway, but like 20 or some years ago. And when I reported this back to them, they were dumbfounded and they wanted more questions. They had more questions, and I said, this guy's going to suspect. And they had me call him 2 more times. And the third time he started to suspect that I really wasn't from.
So you got the you did your job.
I didn't realize how good of a job I did, because 5 years later, I had moved on from DuPont, and I happened to be in a bar restaurant in Delaware. I was working for another company, but I was visiting friends that weekend on a Friday night, and it was happy hour, and I started talking to a guy who was in a suit, and I said, "Hey, what do you do?" "Oh, I work for DuPont." What industry are you in?" He says, "Oh, I'm in the X-ray coating business." And I said, "Oh, I once did a report for them where I researched what Eastman Kodak could do." His face got white, and he goes, "You did that report?" He said, "That is our Bible. We know that we can never compete with them on cost, because he said that changed our business." I'm like, "Oh,
wow.
You're welcome."
That's amazing.
Yeah. So they had no idea. They thought they had, for the amount of production that was coming out of that plant, they thought they had 3 lines. Eastman Kodak only had 1 line, but it operated at incredible speed, and it was wide. And,
man, I bet that felt good.
It did. I felt guilty because I misrepresented myself. I lied to the guy. I said I was from Eastman Kodak, and I wasn't from Eastman Kodak. Please don't sue me. Well, Eastman Kodak is no longer. And the reason this story is important is because they had the technology and they invented digital film, but they ignored it because they were so invested in the technology and in maybe even making that coating line go faster and making it wider and improving that technology. And that was becoming obsolete technology. And instead of focusing on where the ball was going to be, Wayne Gretzky always said, you got to anticipate where the puck's going to be, not where it's at. They were focusing on where the puck was, not where it was going to be. And now they're a defunct company. Now, I think you could still buy Eastman Kodak film, specialized. Somebody brought the brand, but that company is dead. That company does not exist. It was once a titan of American industry, and they were too short-sighted to see where the future was going.
Change is the only constant, guys.
I hope that was interesting.
Yeah, that was
man.
That was great.
I really got going on that. That was really, how long did we go? Did I go 2 hours?
No, that's about it right there, guys. That's awesome. That's very intriguing. You know, you don't a lot of times you don't realize how vital you were to a company and how much of an effect you made. And there you got the find firsthand by somebody being blown like, wait, that's you.
He was
you
blown
wrote
away.
That?
He was completely blown away.
He
said, that's our
awesome.
Bible. We know we can't compete with them on price because they have so much better costs. So we compete in other ways. We compete on customer service.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't have to compete on price. You compete on customer service. What else? You know, I guess price isn't the only way you can compete. So,
yeah, awesome. Well, that's a good spot to leave it right there. Man, things are going to continue to get advanced. Things aren't going to slow down unless some crazy we get hit by some what are those EMPs or whatever that takes out everything. Knocks us back to the Stone Age. Yeah, this is the way it's going to keep going, and it's exciting. You just hear about new advancements all the time. But guys, we appreciate you watching and sharing. If please share on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and feel free to share. And guys, we will see you next time. Goodbye. And that's about it. No, we're still live. Are we still on Facebook? Still on Facebook. Guys, thanks for watching on Facebook. Please share and send us a comment. See what you think of the one shot we got going on. And we'll see you next time. Bye.